Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel. This is my review for All Quiet on the Western Front, the 2022 German film adaptation of the German anti-war book of the same name. The movie follows a young German man and his friends who go off to fight in World War I, against the French more specifically. They're all excited about going to war, but once they're out there on the battlefield, they realize how much hell war is, whether the grueling trenches, the horrific battle sequences, or just staying around in a certain area just waiting for something to happen. When it comes to All Quiet on the Western Front, I never read the original book. I know it's one of the most famous anti-war books ever written, so famous that Hitler actually banned it in Nazi Germany because of course he did, but a lot of people, I imagine, are familiar with the 1930 Universal film. I actually reviewed the original film on this very YouTube channel 9 years ago, back in 2014. Holy crap, because it was part of the Universal 100th Anniversary Collector's Edition Blu-ray set that I got for Christmas the prior year. Back then, I just wanted to go through every single movie that's listed in this collection and review them all. I haven't gotten around to finishing it all because the only movie left in here that I haven't reviewed is The Bourne Identity. But All Quiet on the Western Front was the first movie in this set, and I think it's amazing. It's really haunting. It's very well made. It was Universal's first Best Picture winner, and there's actually two versions. The sound version, which I reviewed on the channel, and then the silent version, which I haven't seen. And I know when it comes to movies that are regarded as classics, and another version of it comes out decades later, there is always that question, why remake it? Well, with All Quiet on the Western Front, this is an exception because it's a German film. This is not an American-made film. It's not released through Universal, and it's instead released through Netflix. And the best way to look at this version of All Quiet on the Western Front is to look at it the same way you would look at Spielberg's West Side Story. It's not a remake of the previous film. It's just an adaptation of the original source material. And as of recording this review, I can't determine which version of All Quiet on the Western Front is the better version, because the Universal one's a classic, but I haven't seen it since I reviewed it 9 years ago. But one of the advantages that this adaptation has over the Universal film is that it's a German film. The home country of the original book finally gets to make their own adaptation, so there's a lot more authenticity to this version than there was to the original. You really get to see the horrors of World War I through German eyes. It feels so authentic, and it's surprisingly not as violent as movies like Saving Private Ryan or Hacksaw Ridge. Sure, you'll see people missing limbs, blowing up, but it's not really focused on like in any of those movies. It's more focused on just the horrors of being in this war. The violence is not really exploitive like in those other war movies, because it's more about the experience of being there, and you witness the horror through our main character's eyes. I'm not familiar with most of these actors because they're all German. The only one I'm really familiar with is Daniel Brühl because of Rush, and he's Zemo in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but he has a very minor role. The actor that plays the lead character, Paul, is fantastic. You really buy into the fact that this kid is excited to go to war, he buys into the propaganda, willing to help out his country, and then he gets there and it's all going to hell and he just wants to go home. And there were just so many moments throughout the movie that made me angry, not because anything in the movie was bad, but just because of the situations that these characters are forced to go through. My knowledge on World War I is very fuzzy. In fact, I'm still a little unsure of how exactly World War I got started. I went to see this movie with my dad, and he tried to explain to me how World War I got started, and I'm still trying to wrap my mind around how exactly it was, because it's complicated. It's a very complicated situation how World War I happened, whereas World War II is simple. Nazis are evil, that's it. So hearing my dad trying to explain how World War I got started, and then watching this movie and just seeing all these situations play out, it frustrates me, especially when we get to the end of the movie. The ending is like that one final straw where I'm like, you guys are so close. You're so close, but you're forced to do this one thing, and I hate your leader for doing that. Like, it pissed me off, but I think that's more of a testament to how effective this movie is that I felt something during those moments. I didn't see this before I made my best of the year list, which is why it didn't pop up in my honorable mentions, but had I seen this prior, it may have made the list. I mean, at the very worst, it would have been another honorable mention, or I would have ended up making a top 20, because this adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front is fantastic. From what I remember of the Universal film, there's a lot in this version that's quite different. One of the scenes that stuck out in the Universal version was when all the rats are crawling over these characters and they're horrified. Like, that's a horrifying sequence for 1930. That sequence does not appear in this movie, but there's so many other horrific moments throughout that it's equally as effective. I don't remember the rating I gave to the original version of All Quiet on the Western Front, but for this adaptation, I'm gonna say it's worth seeing in your lifetime. The only things that are keeping me from saying get off your ass and go see it right now is that the score, I think, is a little underwhelming. There's like one electronic beat that plays throughout the film that it kind of takes me out, because this is a World War I period piece, and yet there's this piece of music that doesn't quite fit. It's effective in some parts, but overall it doesn't work. And also the movie didn't really leave me crying at the end. I was going into this expecting some emotional 3-hour gut punch, and what I got was a 2.5-hour expertly made German film that might be the frontrunner for Best Foreign Film. I haven't seen RRR yet, and I want to try to see it before I vote for the Hollywood Critics Association Film Awards. But right now, in terms of Best International Film, All Quiet on the Western Front has my vote. And there you go, that's my review for All Quiet on the Western Front. I hope you enjoyed it, and now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day, and take care of yourselves.